The Unbreakable Code, Mastering Power Over Approval. The quest for power and self-determination begins with a fundamental act of emotional severance, the conscious abandonment of the desperate need to be liked. For centuries, power players have understood that loyalty is rarely a permanent contract, but rather a temporary transaction. Niccolò Machiavelli, observing the chaotic political landscape of Renaissance Italy, codified this brutal truth. Leaders who prioritize being loved often fall, while those who master the art of being respected, and when necessary feared, endure. This is not a philosophy of cruelty, but one of calculated self-interest, designed to make the individual untouchable, dangerous, and free. To achieve this state, one must systematically remove the emotional and informational levers that others use for manipulation. Keycap 1. Kill your reflex to explain, the armor of silence. The most damaging habit bleeding one's power is the immediate, instinctive need to justify or defend a decision when challenged. Every explanation functions as a crack in the psychological armor. When we over-explain a choice, a career move, a personal boundary, a disagreement, we signal two fatal vulnerabilities. First, that we seek the other party's validation for the legitimacy of our actions, and second, that we are affected by their opinion. Machiavelli understood that true authority is self-validating. A powerful individual does not justify, they act, and their actions become the new reality that others must adapt to. The reflex to explain is rooted in the social instinct for affiliation, but in a power dynamic, it is a detrimental act of submission. It creates an emotional debt, diminishing the impact of the original decision and transforming it from a final decree into a suggestion seeking approval. The countermove is the armor of silence. When challenged, a calm, non-reactive response, such as a simple, "That was my decision," followed by a change of subject or measured exit, forces the challenger into a void. They are left to perform all the emotional and intellectual labor, reassessing the relationship, analyzing the consequences of a challenge, and calculating the risk of losing connection. This single act shifts the strategic burden entirely onto the other person, communicating that their discomfort is purely their own problem, and your choices require zero external validation. Keycap 2. Respond slower than they expect. The power of delay. If silence is the armor, delay is the weapon used to control the battle's pace. Machiavelli noted that people are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate necessities that a deceiver will never lack victims. Impatience is a universal weakness, and a quick response signals that the other person's needs are your priority, allowing them to control the tempo of the interaction. Speed is weakness, delay is territory. A slow, measured reply establishes your time and attention as valuable, finite resources. It creates two powerful psychological states in the person waiting: doubt and fear. The delay forces the recipient to fill the silence with internal pressure. Did I misread them? Are they too busy to care? Are they plotting a complex countermove? This self-inflicted pressure diverts their focus from the original issue entirely. Furthermore, delay grants the strategist crucial time for clarity. Rushing to respond often leads to reactive, regretted statements. By slowing down, one gains the opportunity to analyze the challenger's true intentions, spot manipulation, and craft a measured, strategic response. The distinction between those who deserve an immediate, respectful reply, true allies, defined by their past actions, sacrifices, and commitment to your interests, and those who deserve the strategic delay is vital. 4. Boundary testers and competitors. Forcing them to wait establishes that you are not at their beck and call, cementing your position as the one in ultimate control of the relationship's rhythm. Keycap 3. Never show what hurt you, the invincible stone face. Pain is critical intelligence, and the moment a wound is exposed, one has given an opponent a loaded weapon with instructions on where to aim. In the power game, emotional flinching is never viewed as vulnerability, it is viewed as an opening to be exploited. An opponent will use this knowledge, the insecurity about a past failure, a sensitive personal topic, not out of malice but to gain advantage and destabilize the target. This principle demands not the suppression of emotion, but the strategic choice of when and where to process it. In the moment of conflict, the face must remain a stone-cold mask of neutrality. This emotional stoicism prevents the aggressor from gaining the psychological satisfaction of seeing the blow land. The uncertainty, was that insult even heard? Did I miss the mark? Becomes the aggressor's problem. The powerful person absorbs the hit like granite. If someone publicly insults or betrays them, they counter with a smile, a laugh, or utter indifference. Internally, this is not suppression. It is cataloging the information. The pain is processed privately, but in the public sphere, the individual remains unreadable. Every exposed insecurity, whether fear of job loss, sensitivity about a past mistake, or professional anxiety, is potential leverage for manipulation. By mastering the stone face, one becomes dangerous because opponents cannot reliably trigger a reactive, emotional display, rendering their favorite weapons inert. Keycap 4. Withhold warmth when tested. The strategic freeze. This principle is the direct defense against the exploitation of the human need for affection. Your warmth is a high-value resource. Giving it away freely, especially to those who disrespect you, transforms kindness into perceived weakness. The constant effort to keep the peace by remaining friendly after a boundary crossing is what enables people to be walked all over. The Machiavellian strategic freeze is the counter move. When a boundary is tested, your warmth must vanish immediately, cold and neutral, like a switch being flipped. This is not an angry reaction. It is a decisive, strategic withdrawal. The goal is to teach a crucial lesson. Your kindness is not a default setting, but a revocable privilege contingent upon respect. Signal of power. Description of strategic freeze. Calm demeanor. The tone is lowered, the voice is steady, and the demeanor is relaxed, signifying control, not hurt. Objective language. The response is minimal, professional, and concise, ensuring the withdrawal is about resource management, not emotional punishment. Boundary reinforcement. The focus remains on the action taken. That was my decision. Teaching the offender that the consequence, the loss of warmth/access, is tied directly to their behavior. This disciplined withdrawal ensures the action is perceived as a decisive boundary and a statement of power, rather than a petty, emotional sulk. If the offender corrects their behavior, the boundary holds. If they disappear, they prove they only value the warmth, not the person. This raises the critical tactical question of timing. The strategic freeze is most effective when it is a clear, instant correction, but some argue a slight delay can allow a pattern of disrespect to solidify, making the eventual withdrawal a more impactful lesson. Keycap 5. Guard mystery like territory, the unreadable enigma. The principle of guarding your mystery is the foundation of unreadability. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are, Machiavelli observed. When you share everything, your struggles, your plans, your emotional history, you become ordinary, predictable, and easily categorized. Mystery is power because it triggers the projection effect. When the brain encounters an individual who offers little drama, few flaws, and no current emotional baggage, the natural human tendency, which seeks closure, is to fill the void with assumptions of stability and competence. By withholding information about past insecurities or current fears, you become the low-information, high-value individual in the room. You are perceived as the stable reference point, the one whose life is too organized or strategic to be plagued by petty conflict. Your personal narrative, struggles, and plans are treasures, not small talk. Sharing them is like handing over a map to your psychological weak spots. The less people know, the less they can use against you, and the more they must respect you, as they are left only with the formidable image you project, not the messy reality of the human condition. You force them to create a narrative of strength in your absence. Keycap 6. Let your absence teach them. The value equation. If you are successfully establishing yourself as high value and low drama, you must manage your availability to prevent that value from being taken for granted. When presence is constant, it becomes background noise. Value is perceived only through scarcity. Absence creates both fear and love. When you strategically withdraw, by stopping the initiation of contact, creating deliberate space, or declining non-urgent requests, you transform from a fixture into a question mark. This strategic withdrawal is not ghosting. It is strategic resource management. This action creates a psychological vacuum in the lives of those who relied on you. Humans hate vacuums and fill them with thoughts of the missing element, the worry, the realization of convenience lost, and the sudden valuation of what was once expected. The key is to signal this withdrawal through objective, professional actions, delaying a response while maintaining a concise, even tone, or citing genuine workload as the reason for unavailability, rather than emotional, passive-aggressive acts. Your absence is a teacher. Let it instruct others that your time and energy are limited, valuable, and subject to your own priorities. Keycap 7. Say less, imply more. The iceberg of meaning. The final step in achieving unreadability is mastering the weight of your words. The true skill of power is not in maximizing sentences, but in maximizing the weight of every word. When you use concise, loaded statements, you create the iceberg effect, where most of the meaning is hidden beneath the surface. This brevity forces the listener into maximal interpretation. A detailed plan is finite and debatable. A statement like, "Things are in motion," or "I am processing," is infinite in its possibility. The listener is forced to use their own imagination, often assuming the most formidable and complex strategy is underway. This projects an image of absolute control and execution, signaling that the decision-making stage is over. This grants the listener zero leverage. They cannot debate the specifics because there are none. Furthermore, when you speak rarely and briefly, your words gain exponential authority. You are training the world to lean in and listen, because they know that what little you choose to say is the tip of a massive hidden iceberg of strategy. The ultimate result is that your decisions, your knowledge, and your emotional state are perceived as profound, complex, and unassailable. The essence of Machiavellian self-mastery is the transformation from an easily read, emotionally reactive individual into an unreadable, high-value asset. You move from the position of seeking approval to the position of commanding respect. Focusing specifically on warning number 4. Withhold warmth when tested. The strategic freeze, we established that the withdrawal must be immediate, calm, and objective. But to achieve maximum impact and make the lesson stick, what do you think is the most powerful moment to initiate the withdrawal of warmth and distance? Immediately, the very first second the boundary is crossed, as an instant correction? Reactively, after a pattern of disrespect has clearly been established to make the lesson stick?
Humans never look to